All right, we're recording. We are back with another episode of Content is for Closers. If you'll notice, we're just diving right in. No boring background, no biography, no career journey in the intro this week. And that's because we want to try something new. We need to keep it fresh, keep it spicy around here. So instead of giving you the LinkedIn resume, I thought that we could try, Carlton, you've heard the episode. If you had to describe Dan in 30 seconds or less, or in such a way that someone could engage with him, or else Dan will never make another sale the rest of his career. So his career depends on the description you're about to give him. How would you describe Dan to our audience?
No pressure at all. So no Dan is a digital marketer aficionado. So he's been in the industry, I think, for about 12 years is what he said. So he runs Saltwater Digital. It's a digital agency that focuses on SEO, PPC. They do a lot of great work, but he really is known for his amazing Twitter. So I think if people want to engage with him, go to his Twitter and see what he's writing.
Yeah, he writes a lot about how to grow for small business owners, and especially kind of those, it's become coined as sweaty startups. He works a lot with those types of companies and talks to those types of companies. Just to add in a little bit of extra color, he, like you said, he runs Saltwater Digital. He focuses a lot on SEO. And I think kind of the reason I was so intrigued with him is he came from the FBA, world of FBA, which is fulfilled by Amazon. So he's one of these guys that built a career, built companies, really as a pure, to me, those are like pure marketers. They're not working for agencies. They're not taking on clients. They're just finding products that work, and then connecting those products to people who want them through Amazon. And, if you know anything about Amazon, it's a very competitive place. It can be a very difficult place to stand out. And so if you're able to just spin up these brands like Dan has done, I think he was in the supplement space, again, extremely competitive. That just shows how gifted of a marketer you are. So we get into a little bit of that, but also talk about what he's doing now. Anything stand out in particular to you from the conversation?
Yeah, absolutely. If you have, I guess, two industries that are really hard and where you're completely betting on yourself, it's going to be affiliate marketing and something like that FBA style where all the sales depend on you, because if not, you're not going to see a dime. So, he talks a little bit about his experience with that and how that transitions into some of the newer techniques. He's not doing that anymore, but a lot of those same techniques and same marketing skills are used for the companies that he markets today.
Yeah. Excited to get into it. Before we do, as you all know, we love to read our 5-star reviews. We're at 73. Let me tell you, this has been a slower slog than I was expecting on the march to 100. I think we started this around, I can't remember, maybe 60 or in the high 50s. And we're just marching to 100, but we're at 73. Today's is a 5-star review. Love this show is the title. Adam has phenomenal convos with phenomenal guests to help you create phenomenal content. Really like the phenom emphasis of this review. So appreciate that. If you leave a review, obviously we will read it live on the show. You can talk about your business. You can pitch yourself. You can tell us how terrible we are. You can ask how many times it took us to record this intro. Anything you want, and we will read it here on the show. But without further ado, let's get into it with Dan Wolf, aka Dan Thompson. All right, we're back, and we have Dan Thompson of Saltwater Digital, hailing all the way from Calgary, Alberta. Dan, thanks for joining the show.
Yeah, appreciate you having me.
We were talking pre-show, and I have some experience in Calgary with previous work, and loved it up there. I'm jealous that this is about to become like prime season up there, right?
Weather-wise. It is. We're just rolling into it now. It's starting to actually, the snow has finally melted, so we're into the spring now, and it's always a good kind of 4 or 5 months here of summer and spring. So yeah,
beautiful. Riverwalk going to get busy. Stampede, has that happened yet?
No, that's July. So that's
okay.
It'll be good. It's been I guess last kind of couple of years have been obviously a bit of a downer for Stampede.
Oh, sure.
It's been really muted, but it's always kind of a big event. And I mean, it's nice because it kind of brings out you see people that you haven't seen in like 10, 15 years, because it brings everybody out from like, if you're 60 to like, 20. It's like the whole gamut. You go out to the big tents, and it's always a good time.
I always tell people Calgary is this it's not what you would expect at all as an American coming into the city, because it has this very kind Canadian sense to it, but at the same time, it almost feels like you're in like northern Texas, like or
Yes.
Texas of the North, I should say. So it's a fun mix, but loved all my time there, and jealous that you get to enjoy it.
Yeah,
Um,
no, it's great.
but Dan, so you have Saltwater Digital,
Yeah.
and I'd love to just start by hearing, how did you start that? What's the mission? What do you all do, and kind of that story?
Yeah, so we got started 12 years ago, I guess now.
Wow.
So that was kind of when we first kind of got started into digital marketing. So this was kind of pre-saltwater digital, but um, I was working oil and gas at the time, and
Oh.
I got laid off. Um, and so we at the same time, kind of just before I got laid off, I kind of seen the writing on the wall because things were starting to go south a little bit. I'd started kind of getting into building these affiliate sites, and so that was all kind of powered
Mm.
by SEO. And so that's kind of how I cut my teeth. My business partner at the time was actually my best friend. He was working at a private school on Vancouver Island, which is gorgeous. And he was looking to do something else too. So we kind of started building affiliate sites together. That kind of led into doing some client work, just because we felt like we could, we're like, well, if we could do this, we could certainly help clients out. Um, and then, yeah, we took a little bit of a detour for a few years there, where we built a couple of FBA brands, built them up, sold those brands, and now we're kind of back full time within the last couple of years here, building up the agency, SEO, PPC, web builds, all that kind of good stuff.
Awesome. So that comes, your service roots come from a background as practitioner. Maybe for
Yes.
some of the young bloods that didn't live through that, what did your affiliate sites do, or what's that model?
Yeah, it's changed a lot. I mean, they're still out there, right? Like obviously you've heard of things like the Wirecutter, which was basically, that was a huge affiliate site that the New York Times bought. I can't remember. I think it was 30 million is what they sold that site for. And so there's still a ton of them out there. There's still a lot of guys actually, even guys that I can, when I was building sites that I would connect with, that are still doing it and still doing really well on it. It's just the model's changed a little bit. It used to be, um, you spin up these sites, you get them on Amazon, you do the Amazon affiliate route. But over time, just like with everything else, Amazon's kind of cut their affiliate commissions. So
Hmm.
they used to be a lot higher. So now it's like, if you could, from what I understand, anyways, again, it's been a while since we've built them. It's
Sure.
it's less Amazon. Like, for instance, I know there was a lot of pet affiliate brands that were built, or sites that were built, and you do things like Chewy and these are their sort of sites that offer higher commissions and things of that nature now. So, but yeah, it's basically you spin up content, you push out a lot of content, you build links, and you drive traffic, and then you take that traffic and push it to affiliate sites.
Yeah. So the essence being exactly what you just described, like you had to learn that audience building, that traffic building
Yeah.
skill. And
Yes.
I assume that had a lot to do with your now ability to speak and act with SEO. And then FBA, fulfilled by Amazon, just for anyone who's not
Yeah.
initiated, can you give that?
Yeah. So FBA. So the FBA is basically we built. There's a bunch of different ways to do it. You can either do the model where you're basically buying and reselling product. So there's kind of like there's that model. There's the private label or white label model, which is literally you just go buy, a supplement from some contract manufacturer. They stick a label on it, and they're producing tens, if not hundreds of thousands of that supplement. We went a little bit of a different route, where we actually we worked with manufacturers to develop and build our own brand, and all our formulas were our own. And we worked with
Mm.
actually a guy down in San Diego who's got a PhD in food science. Um, and so we basically worked with him to develop a bunch of our lines of supplements.
Oh, wow.
And so we built that up, and that was a really interesting experience, because I think it gave us a lot of it just gave us a little bit of a different perspective on digital marketing,
Hmm.
kind of, doing it ourselves, kind of seeing like, okay, like this is what these businesses are going through. Um, and actually, I think that one thing that maybe gets overlooked a little bit with FBA is that it's a search engine, right? So Amazon's a huge search engine. And so it actually translated really well, our initial sort of our experience with SEO and just kind of taking that and then bringing that over to FBA and developing products and selling through Amazon.
Yeah, that's great. I think it's such a the people that I know that started either in affiliate or in ad arbitrage, or there's a few
Yeah.
like niches that they're great marketers because they came out of that, and
Yes.
because you just have to survive, and
Totally.
certainly affiliate sites and FBA is part of that. So when you think about today's marketplace and SMB owners who are trying to get attention, trying to drive transactions, but the model's obviously a lot different than when you were first starting affiliate sites. How do you advise them? Where do you point them to start when it comes to creating a content strategy? And that could be via SEO or just even in a broad sense.
Yeah, and so this is one of the things, again, I think our backgrounds kind of helped us with, is that we've seen different kind of content strategies. It's not just through SEO. We've done whether it's TikTok advertising or things like that. Like we've had some exposure to that through some of our other own projects.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I don't know, just kind of an interesting story from yesterday. I was talking to a guy, and so he's about 30, 35, and he was telling me that his dad during the pandemic, um, he was bored, and so his dad runs a very niche tourism business,
Mm.
and so he got on YouTube. His dad, he was like 60 plus years old, and he's crushing it. His the tourism's picked up again,
Yep.
and his YouTube channel is he says the biggest source of their lead gen now.
Wow.
And it's literally just this. And again, he went on to he went and figured it out at 60. So it kind of like, I guess it inspires me a little bit that it's like I feel like there's just so much opportunity right now for business owners, small business owners, whether it's through SEO, whether it's through YouTube, whether it's through Twitter, whatever it is, right? To kind of get on a platform, learn a platform, understand how that platform works, and kind of leverage it for, for your own business
Mm-hmm.
and business purposes. Yeah. So
if we break down that a little bit or just drill into that, it sounds like step
sure.
one is like finding the search engine that's relevant, whether that be YouTube,
Yes.
Amazon, straight Google, whatever that might be. What about in terms of building out a topic tree or whatever you want to call it? That how do you advise people to figure out what their audience is looking for?
Yeah, and I mean, I think you can get a lot of that information just through search, right? Just through looking through basically just the Google search at tools. So there's a bunch of tools out there. I personally use a tool called Mangools, which is like, it's a paid tool, but it's essentially, it's giving you Google search results in terms of how much volume there is and things of that nature. Again, there's obviously tons of different tools out there that do that type of thing, but you can very quickly begin to understand what your customers are searching for, what topics around, what specific questions they're asking, how much volume there is, how competitive it is. And again, all those tools will give you kind of those metrics, whether it's, they'll give you all the search volumes, and they'll also give you um, just how competitive it is, whether
Mm-hmm.
it's a Mangools or an Ahrefs or any of these types of kind of
Moz.
difficulty tools.
Yeah.
Yeah, Moz, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's kind of where we've always started. And again, kind of back to the FBA thing, like that's how we built our FBA business. Was we went and looked at Google search volumes. We went and looked at Google search trends, and we said, like, look at this. This is starting to take off. This is getting really good volume. There's not that many products in it. It's the same thing, right? For businesses when they're looking at whether you sell shoes or if you're selling, plumbing services, right? It's just about going in. And again, the SMBs, it's easier for, because when you kind of dive into those, there's like, it's very specific. It's like, there might be 10 or 15 keywords that people are really searching in that area. And then it's just a matter of figuring out, can I compete? What's it going to take to compete? And, making sure that your expectations are kind of in line with, how much I'm going to spend versus, what we're trying to get out of it.
Yeah, that makes sense. So what about when you layer on top of it the local component? For instance, I've talked about here before. We have a landscaping company that does really well digitally, but then when they zoom out or when they try to compare themselves to regional or certainly national players, it's difficult on a
Sure.
especially on a paid budget standpoint. They can't compete with the True Greens of the world. How should someone like that, and it doesn't have to be a landscaping example, but think about layering location with the specificity of their content in order to get an advantage? Or what's some practical ways they can do that?
Yeah, so I think again, the first thing is like most of the SMBs, like yes, there might be a few national players, but you already start with a huge advantage if you're again, if you're a local region, like a local business, and you're competing against some of these national businesses that maybe are franchise models or whatever it might be, and yeah, they have a lot more domain authority, they have a lot more clout in that regard, but because they're not actually hyper focused on that market that they're serving, you have a fairly large upper hand on that, just to start with.
Mhm.
So that's kind of number one. Um, and then on top of that, they're not going to be willing to necessarily put out some go after some of the keywords that are a lot smaller,
Mm.
that are again maybe specific to, and again it can be through blog posts or service pages. Like again, when we're looking at SMBs, we're trying to figure out, what types of service pages can we build out, what types of service areas can we build out, and that's kind of our starting point. And typically, there's 5 to 10 pages that we can really build out and really leverage, and using kind of their again the local element of it, you can often outperform some of these companies that are a lot larger, that are maybe um, maybe they are in that area, but they're just not as hyper focused on it. Maybe their GMP page isn't actually isn't specific to that area, whatever it might be. So there's definitely a lot of benefits to being a small local
Hmm.
company that you will definitely see versus kind of being a part of a franchise or a national player.
GMP, can you define that?
Right. So that's a Google My Business
Oh,
page, and so
GMP.
it's
Yeah, yeah.
GMP.
No, no.
Sorry, yeah. Uh, Yeah, so it's essentially like you said, it's just like the local, it's just the local page that you can set up for any local business can set them up, and that's how you kind of rank in what would be considered like the map pack, which is those results that show up on the map that show you kind of the local
Yeah,
results.
and obviously, if you're listening to this and you don't have your Google listing, local listing, I mean that is such a easy, simple way to get
Yeah,
attention. But yeah, I think what you said there is really interesting and something that I think can get overlooked in the sense that if you're a landscaping company, you might go after the normal maintenance or hardscaping or these terms that are like your big money makers, but they're also everyone else's big money makers. And so when you're thinking through
yeah,
that mix, having a service like fire ant treatment or something that's a little bit less,
more
yeah, more
specific.
specific,
Yeah,
even if it's not as trafficked, to your point, you can kind of own that and make that your one of the
yes,
pillars that you build a strategy around. That's really helpful.
totally.
So, oh, go ahead. Just
No, I was just going to say you nailed it. Like that's exactly it. Like the advantage that you have from, again, if you're doing a fire ant treatment in that specific market. The big national players aren't going to have a page for fire ants specific to a
right.
specific market. They might have one for, the larger, the national stage, but they're not going to necessarily rank locally for that.
Yeah, and that's such an advantage because especially, I mean, we keep using that. It doesn't have to be home services, but especially with home services, the locality is such an advantage over some national player that's churning and burning through people.
And honestly, I think it's yes, the local side, like you said, but also I think that also gets overlooked. There's a lot of, like, we work with a lot of SMBs who are they're not local businesses. They're shipping all across the country,
Mm.
or they're providing a service in a very large region. And similar to local businesses, a lot of those national players aren't going to go for some of those keywords that are a little
Hmm.
bit smaller, that maybe won't really move the needle for their business, but for a business that's doing $2 or $3 million a year might actually make a
Hmm.
difference. And that's another area where, like, again, you can build out those specific pages, whether it's a service page or a blog post or whatever it might be, and those are often what ends up performing the best from what we've seen. We've seen quite a few examples. We have an IVF company that we work with, and we've gotten hyper specific around so many small
Hmm.
topics, and we've seen their traffic explode from probably 15 to 20x within sort of
Wow.
12 months. And again, these are hyper specific searches where it's not, um, the bigger players aren't really going
Hmm.
after those terms.
Yeah, but
And so I
the
just
need
think,
state for a niche like that, like IVF, the relevancy of someone who's searching for that. First of all, the intent is obviously off the charts, and then
super high.
when they find something like that, even if it's a fraction of a percentage of some other broader topic, the conversion's probably, I would imagine, pretty high as well. If the need is there.
Yeah, it is quite high. And I mean, it's a niche that requires a lot of touch points because it is such a big
Mm,
decision, both financially and personally, that people obviously go through. So it's like, you want to kind of be showing up like time and time again, no matter what questions they have. If your brand keeps showing up, that's like, the best thing we can do in terms of moving them towards that
yeah.
conversion.
What a great
But
mental
yeah, so
exercise.
getting
Like if you even just pretending like you are IVF and you have to provide that type level of information like service, because almost
yeah.
everything else is going to be less intense than that. So
Yeah. It's true. It
it's a
is true.
great
Yeah,
model.
no.
You mentioned earlier,
Yeah.
you've toyed with, I think you said Snapchat or TikTok ads or something like that for your own business. What are some of the other maybe newer, non standard SEO or link building content things that have you excited or that you've used for your business or for someone else's and have seen good benefit with?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a YouTube. Like we've seen some of our clients get great results with YouTube. As I said, that chat I was having yesterday, like that travel agency was like, I was blown away by that one. Um, Definitely TikTok in terms of e-commerce
Hmm.
play. I think that's kind of a well-known secret now. We I wish I could take credit for it. We actually did. I can't take credit for this, but one of our products on FBA, we went from selling 40 a day to about 400 a day. Yeah, from someone else's TikTok
Oh,
video.
really?
Um,
Interesting.
and so yeah, like, and it's not like, so we sold to a larger company, so one of these
Mhm.
aggregator type plays. And again, so we have some interesting information in terms of like how that's playing out across the board, but it's like, I can't tell you how many times different brands have brought it up being like, our sales exploded on Amazon. And you do some digging and you go and find that, oh, there's this video on TikTok that went viral. So if you're doing kind of like the
Yeah.
small e-commerce play, like that's definitely like, a super exciting niche, or a platform, I should say. Obviously for our own brand, for Saltwater Digital,
Mm.
Twitter's been
Hmm.
incredible for us. Like, that's kind of where we've started to focus on the last 6 months. And again, like it's been surprising. Like we have a small following, like really, really small following, and it's
Yeah.
converted a ton. I guess, like, the thing that gets me excited about content is I just think that there's a
Yeah.
channel for every business. And whether it's SEO, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, whatever it is, there's a channel out there for your business. And the sooner that you can figure which channel that is and kind of leverage that and really kind of dive and go all in on it, I
Yeah.
think the better. Um, and so I think that's kind of for me, when I look at from a content creation perspective, that's kind of the most exciting thing that I see going forward is, I think that, um, a lot of times we think, oh, we're late, oh, this is saturated, oh, this won't work, whatever, right? And I just think that a lot of times it's not true. There's
Yeah.
still so much room out there, and there's still so many eyeballs and opportunity for SMBs to kind of leverage that.
Yeah. We get
Yeah,
that fear often as a company that produce podcasts or internet shows, oh, everybody has a podcast, everybody.
totally.
But when you really actually look at, if you strip emotion out of it and just look at the data, not everybody has a podcast. Nowhere near everyone has a podcast. And
No.
consumption rates are continuing to grow with people who stick with podcasting. If you're above 7 episodes, which is, very few podcasts. And I would imagine that's similar
Which
to the other executions.
totally. And I mean, I think that you nailed it, right? Like it's about like, you have to get on the platform, you have to work at it, and you have to be consistent with it. And I think that for SMBs in particular, they have this tendency to, um, just kind of jump from one thing to the next, or
Mhm.
try to do them all. Like, oh, like we're going to get a social media manager to post on, Twitter and Pinterest, and they're trying to do every single platform, and they're not doing any of them well. And to me, that's like the biggest mistake that I see when I'm working with, small businesses that are looking to kind of grow, or even, larger businesses too, like that are kind of, still would be considered an SMB, is like, they don't necessarily have a great strategy laid out, number one. And then number two is they're just trying to
Yeah.
do too many of them versus just trying to focus in on one and understanding like, look, you have to spend a lot of hours. Somebody, whether it's you or your team or whoever it is, needs to spend a lot of time on that platform to understand it, engage with it, to understand how it works, and to kind of grow the account.
Yeah.
So,
The rule
but
we
yeah, like,
use is, it doesn't mean it's going to take this long, but you have to be willing to do it for 18 months without seeing anything, uh, in order for that to be worth your investment. You know, like if you're willing
yes,
to do that and not see a dime, then you'll probably be successful. If that seems too heavy, you'll probably give up. You know, well before that.
I like that. I like that time period too. You say 18 months, and I think in my experience, it's
Yeah.
actually a lot shorter than that. But kind of giving yourself like that like framework of like it's
Right.
going to take this long, so that when you do start, and you are literally getting
Yeah.
zero from day,
Yeah.
for the first two
There's no
months, you're not
pressure.
discouraged, right?
Exactly.
Because you're like, oh no, this is supposed to take 18 months, and then like 6 months in, you'll be like, oh my
A
goodness,
hundred
like this is
percent.
starting to work. Like
Hopefully
this is starting to
sooner.
really
Like, you know,
go.
hopefully it's three
So
months. Hopefully it's 2 months.
yeah,
But
totally.
at least you have that marathon
Yeah,
mindset. I had two follow ups on what you said earlier.
yeah.
The first was with the TikTok video that went viral, et cetera. Was that, I'm just curious, was that an influencer like play, or was that just someone actually organically use your product? And really super interesting.
Yeah, just organically using it. Honestly, it's not even a good niche for not a particular. I shouldn't say it's not a good niche. It's not the best niche for the for that we were in for TikTok videos. Like it's again that brand that we sold is it's in the supplement space, and like there's a lot more visually
Sure.
appealing products than what we sell, um,
But still,
and so it's
it
as I
just
said,
had
it
the
was
impact.
yeah, it was crazy. And like we could, because you can see on Amazon, one of the things you can actually get a glimpse of through our dashboard is like you can see like this product was bought with this product. And so there was three products that this gal basically
Mm,
suggested, and all of them, like I can't, like I said, all of them went through the roof, and they were being bought together at like an incredibly high clip,
super
like
interesting.
30 plus
Yeah.
percent, which is wild. um, and it just goes to show like the power of like how much
Yeah.
influence, for lack of a better word, that person had in terms of sort of influencing the buyer decision, because they weren't just going and buying
The
one;
whole
they were buying
stack.
all
Yeah.
three,
That's
the
and
whole
then when it
stack.
comes to Twitter, what have you found? Like, 100% hand up agree with your Twitter assessment. We have, I mean, our company account has like 120 followers or something meaningless, and a lot of
Yeah,
our new leads come through Twitter. And it's just mind blowing to see how, I mean, it's because the intent's there, it's the right context, etc. DMing for us has been, I mean, that's how I met you. Just, this is what we do. I'd love to get to know
yeah.
you a little bit. And that has extended across all of our partnerships, all of our client bases, all those sorts of things. Anything in specific stand out to you on Twitter that's been helpful?
Oh, I honestly like I know there's so many better people that are so much more qualified to talk about this, but than I am. And again, like I feel like I'm such a basic level compared to some of the people that I'm interacting with on a daily basis
Sure.
and what they're doing with their Twitter accounts. But I mean, I think it's ultimately it does
Hmm.
come down to consistency, and and again, kind of not to be cheesy, but it's like if it's better to pick a niche early and then kind of expand outwards as you grow than trying to and that's what I kind of did when I came on Twitter initially. I
Hmm.
was kind of doing it all,
Hmm.
a little bit of everything, and I still do a little bit just because that's what I find interesting to write about. But um, yeah, I mean, the accounts that I think I see that you see do the best are they tend to be a little bit more
Hmm.
specific right from the get go, and they're really driving one message home. And as I said, I think I could do so much better job than what I'm doing in terms of both consistency and also just being more dialed in terms of what I'm talking about and focusing on. Like I use Twitter a lot for, I love kind of engaging with some of the retweet guy or
Hmm.
the real estate Twitter guys, the SMB guys. So I kind of like a
Yeah.
lot of the different communities. And so like a lot of my engagement's kind of scattered, I guess, for lack of a better word. Um, but I think if I was to again kind of assess my own downfalls there, it would be I need to be a lot more specific in terms of talking about more about marketing and SEO and less about
Yeah.
whatever I'm talking about, and really just dialing more into kind of trying to stay focused and trying to stay more
Listen,
consistent.
I'll have
Just
6
kind of
consecutive marketing tweets, and then the Sixers will blow a 3-0 series lead to the Raptors, and now I'm I haven't talked about business in days. I can't even think about it, but I have to express myself. So it's
just
you're preaching to the choir.
Yeah, I was watching that game last night as well. It's watching the Sixers fans file towards the exit with 4 minutes left was I don't
Not a great
know.
time, but yeah, totally understand what you mean by that.
Yeah. But yeah, and actually to back to the consistency thing, one of the best things I did for my Twitter, and this is going to sound like a plug, but it's not at all. I have no affiliation with these guys. But I did
Oh
the ship
yeah,
30 for 30. Are you familiar with those guys'
Dickie
sports?
Bush. Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
Dickie Bush. And yeah. So anyways, I did that. And that was incredible for like getting
Really?
me to write every day consistently. And again, like the growth in terms of those 3 months, in terms of like how, I guess, effective my Twitter platform I was on Twitter was like through the roof for kind of, I would say 30 days before that
Okay.
challenge started and 30
Okay.
days after that
Cool.
challenge started. In terms of just like doing it every single day. And you
It's
really see
a
the
great
results.
suggestion. We'll link that below. I get their emails, but I haven't
Yeah.
taken the course, and probably need to. So that's a good.
It's great. It's great. I still actually talk to a guy that they set you up with kind of a partner, so to
Okay.
speak, an accountability partner. And one of the guy they set me up with, I still talk to
Very cool.
every second week. So we still have a call and everything. So yeah, no, it's definitely been,
Awesome.
it was a good course.
Well, Dan, really appreciate you coming on. Thanks for making time for us. Before letting you go, just 2 questions. The first is just what's got you excited? What are you looking forward to as we head into the summer months here? And then where can people keep up with all the work that you're doing?
Yeah, so definitely Twitter, Dan the Wolf, at Dan the Wolf, I should say, with an E on the end of Wolf. And saltwaterdigital.com is our agency website. And then, yeah, in terms of just what's got me excited, as I said, I think the more that I've gotten into some of the content creation, both from, helping brands with it, and then also helping brands and businesses, I should say, with SEO and their PPC. And then also, our own Twitter. We're just starting to lean a little bit more into our own SEO, which that's kind of it's a long-winded story, but basically, yeah, we're starting to lean into that a little bit more as well. And so I just think that, as I said, there's kind of a channel for every single business out there. And I think like the sooner you can figure out what that channel might be, and the sooner you kind of commit to it, the better off that your business is going to be. Because I think it can be, an exponential source of growth. And we've seen it across so many businesses where it's like they find that channel and then they really start to lean into it, and their business really, really takes off at that point. So yeah,
It's
find your
great
channel.
advice. Totally hear you on taking care of your own company's outreach and content. And somehow that always gets left for last, but it's
Always last place, man.
super
Yeah.
important and a great note. So Dan, again, appreciate you coming on. We'll link all of those things below, and hopefully talk to you soon.
Okay. Thanks, Adam.